M5D UFO Files. Unraveling the UFO Files. Revelations that change everything.
The views and opinions expressed by individuals in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of the broadcaster or its parent company or affiliates. You are now listening to M5D UFO Files, unraveling the secrets of aerial phenomena. Subscribe now and dive deep into the unexplained with M5D True Dark Files.
Have you ever looked up at the night sky, maybe on a clear, dark evening, and just really wondered if we are truly alone in this huge, vast universe?
Yeah.
Or perhaps, maybe even more profoundly, have you ever thought, if what we're being told about what's out there isn't the whole story?
It's such a fundamental human question, isn't it? This need to understand our place, in the cosmos, and whether there are others maybe watching us or interacting with us. It taps into something really deep, almost primal.
Exactly, and that's precisely where we're headed today on the deep dive. We're jumping right in headfirst into one of humanity's most persistent and, let's face it, most polarizing mysteries. Unidentified aerial phenomena, or, well, UFOs as most people still call them.
We've gathered some, frankly, eye-opening sources that explore not just the sightings themselves, but the massive implications of what these things might represent. We're talking everything from government cover-ups to maybe mind-bending tech breakthroughs, and even some pretty radical ideas about where we come from.
What's really interesting about the material we looked at is it's not just one story. We're going to navigate two really distinct, often conflicting narratives today.
Okay.
So one perspective suggests that this whole alien agenda thing, well, it might actually be a skillfully orchestrated distraction. Some sources even call it provocatively the final hoax, designed to manipulate global control.
Wow, okay. The final hoax. And the other side.
Well, the other side, and this is backed by a lot of testimony from military veterans, documented incidents going back decades. It argues for a deep, ingrained truth embargo.
A truth embargo.
Yeah, this idea suggests a profound extraterrestrial reality has been hidden, maybe for generations. And the goal, maybe exploiting advanced technologies, maintaining societal control, all sorts of reasons.
So the big question we're trying to tackle for you today is, why? Why these completely opposing narratives? What could possibly drive such huge secrecy or, such elaborate deception? The stakes, as you're about to hear, are incredibly high. Our mission today is really to unpack these viewpoints for you, explore the evidence, or maybe the supposed lack of it, and help you piece together a clearer picture of what could be, and this is a quote, the biggest secret in the history of the human race. Okay, let's dive in. So let's start where our sources say it all begins. When we talk about UFOs, alien stuff, it's easy to think of it as, a modern thing, something that really kicked off after World War II.
Right, the Roswell era and all that.
Exactly. But our sources point to something pretty amazing. This isn't new, not at all. We're talking ancient roots, a historical presence that goes way, way back to recorded history.
That's a really powerful point, actually. The idea that human fascination and maybe even interaction with these weird things in the sky is woven right into our oldest history. It really challenges the notion that this is just a 20th century phenomenon.
Yeah.
Take the ancient Hindu Vedas, for instance. Some of the oldest writings we have, they mention things called flying biome, essentially advanced flying machines, used to launch weapons, destroy cities. It's right there in their foundational texts.
And it's not just the Vedas, is it? Lots of people know about biblical references, like Ezekiel's vision. When you read that description today, well, some people interpret it as sounding uncannily like descriptions of advanced craft.
Absolutely. The wheels within wheels, the fiery look, the rapid, impossible movements. You can definitely see parallels to modern UFO reports. It's striking.
So texts are one thing, but what about physical evidence?
Well, beyond the texts, there's a whole lot of global art and artifacts that seem to back this up. We're talking drawings, paintings, stone carvings, even old coins, all showing strange humanoid figures and flying objects.
Right, I've seen some of those images. They're weird.
They are, and they're found all over the place. Ancient Egypt, prehistoric caves in Europe, South America. It really suggests these phenomena have been part of the human experience for a very, very long time.
And it wasn't just stuff happening on Earth, apparently. Our sources mention records from the London Royal Observatory back in the 1700s.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Astronomers back then documenting lights they saw on the moon, and even what they described as bridges, actual structures on the moon centuries ago. It definitely broadens the scope of what we're talking about.
Okay, so we've got these deep historical roots, interesting stuff. But things really exploded after World War II, didn't they? Our sources call it a cosmic Watergate. It shifted from just seeing things to active government cover-up.
Precisely. That's the shift. Key sources allege that, a real understanding of this extraterrestrial reality was established inside major governments as early as July 1947. Roswell, New Mexico, exactly. The alleged crash of a flying disc, the recovery of debris, maybe even bodies. It became this undeniable cornerstone to the whole pro-disclosure side of things. The moment the secret supposedly got too big to just ignore, even if they officially denied it.
So it wasn't just a denial after the fact, it was like a planned effort. Sources mention FDR, President Roosevelt, setting up a committee way back in 1942, a non-terrestrial science and engineering committee.
That's the claim. After an alleged crash recovery even before Roswell. Right. This apparently paved the way for reverse engineering projects, which got funded after 1947, when Vannevar Bush supposedly briefed President Truman about recovered alien craft. It paints a picture of awareness right at the top and a deliberate policy almost immediately.
And this policy wasn't exactly subtle.
Not at all. The U.S. government allegedly put a formal policy of denial in place in the early 50s, actively discrediting people, reporting sightings, ridiculing witnesses. It was a systematic effort, really, to control the narrative and shut people up, setting the stage for decades of secrecy.
And during this time, the 50s, the sources detail some pretty alarming things happening, like numerous military plane crashes, experienced pilots disappearing under weird circumstances.
Reports of planes disintegrating or just vanishing. And beyond crashes, you had UFOs apparently breaching restricted U.S. Air Force airspace routinely, even shutting down missile silos just by hovering over them.
That's terrifying. And it wasn't just out in the desert somewhere, right? 1952, Washington, D.C.?
Yes. Large-scale sightings right over the nation's capital. And Air Force planes scrambled, but they couldn't intercept them. They were just too fast, too maneuverable. Imagine the panic behind the scenes.
So the government's response, it got serious.
Very serious. In 1953, they implemented something called JNAP 146E, Joint Army-Navy Air Force publication. It basically mandated reporting UFOs only to designated agencies. And get this, imposed severe penalties for telling anyone else. A $10,000 fine, which was huge money then, or 10 years in jail.
Wow, 10 years. That's a gag order with teeth.
Absolutely. A clear, legally enforced message to military personnel. Keep your mouth shut. It shows how strongly they wanted to control this information.
Which really makes you ask why. Why such harsh penalties if it was all just weather balloons and swamp gas?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the plot thickens. Our sources even allege that by 1954, under President Eisenhower, actual agreements were made with extraterrestrial races.
Agreements? Like treaties?
Kind of, exchanging technologies supposedly for basing rights here on Earth. Specific places mentioned are Nellis Air Force Base, Dulce in New Mexico. I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but it's in the sources.
And meanwhile, weird stuff kept happening, like on the moon.
Yeah, the moon anomalies continued. One source mentions a 100-mile-long bridge reportedly appearing overnight over a lunar chasm in 1955, after sightings of red and green lights there. Just bizarre.
So despite all this mounting evidence, alleged agreements, the public face was denial.
Totally. They ramped up the PR efforts, Project Blue Book, the Robinson Panel. These were set up by the Air Force in the 50s and 60s, but sources say they were mostly about debunking sightings, managing public perception, not real investigation.
Just keeping a lid on it.
Pretty much. And yet, by 1958, some sources claim internal studies had already provided overwhelming evidence that Earth was being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft. But publicly, still denial. Hashtag tag decades intensification and whistleblowers, 1970s, 2000s.
Okay, so the 50s and 60s set the stage for denial and cover-up. But the story didn't just stop there, it actually intensified, didn't it? More sightings, more incidents, and crucially, more whistleblowers started coming forward.
Absolutely. The sheer weight of testimony and documented events really starts to pile up from the 70s onwards. Think about Jimmy Carter. He had a close encounter himself back in '69.
Right, before he was president.
Yeah. And as a governor, he filed an official UFO report in '73. Even campaigned promising disclosure. Once he got into the White House, sources say intelligence agencies basically stonewalled him, wouldn't give him the files.
Even the president couldn't get access.
Apparently not. It really shows how deep this resistance, this truth embargo might go.
Yeah.
It underscores the power behind this secrecy.
And then you have these really intense personal accounts, like Travis Walton in '75.
Oh yeah, the logger in Arizona, allegedly hit by a beam from a UFO, abducted, missing for 5 days, reappears with this incredible story These personal accounts, even if they're met with skepticism, they add this really profound human element, don't they?
Definitely. And the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980, that's a huge case.
Landmark case.
Yeah.
You've got multiple U.S. Air Force personnel in England describing a triangular object, seeing physical traces on the ground, getting radiation readings. It wasn't just one guy seeing lights. It was military witnesses reporting physical evidence. Very credible people.
And that pattern of credible witnesses being involved seems consistent, like the Japan Airlines case in '86.
That was a big one. A jumbo jet pilot over Alaska tracks this huge object size of a ship, he said, on multiple radar systems. Military, civilian, his own plane's radar.
Undeniable radar data.
Confirmed radar data. And yet, an FAA official, John Callahan, later testified there was a cover-up. The pilot, he was grounded for years. It suggested a pattern. Discredit the witness, suppress the data, no matter how credible.
And then there was the Belgium wave.
Ah, yes, 8990. Hundreds of reports over Belgium, these enormous triangular lighted objects. What was really interesting there was the response. Belgian Air Force F-16s actually chased these things, and the government cooperated with civilian investigators. That was pretty unusual compared to the U.S. approach.
A rare bit of openness.
Relatively speaking, yes. Now, this period also saw theories emerge about why this narrative is being controlled. Serge Monist's Project Bluebeam theory popped up in the 90s.
Right, the idea of a staged event.
Exactly. A staged global event, maybe religious, maybe an alien invasion using holograms and advanced tech. The supposed goal. Collapse existing religions, usher in a new world order. It's basically the ultimate psychological operation, manipulating fear on a global scale.
And you look at deepfakes today and wonder, how far off is that kind of tech, really?
It does make you think. Then public awareness took a jump. 1991, someone released video footage of Area 51. That really fueled public interest.
And the Phoenix Lights in '97.
Massive. Huge V-shaped object just hovering over Phoenix. Tens of thousands of people saw it for like 10-15 minutes. Very hard to dismiss that as just individual mistakes or hoaxes.
And things were happening internationally too, like in Brazil.
The Varginha incident, 1996. Detailed case, reports of 2 alien creatures captured. Tragically, one policeman involved apparently died weeks later from some kind of aggressive bacterial infection, maybe related to contact. These stories are often meticulously documented by researchers on the ground.
And technology really started changing the game.
Absolutely. 2004, a Mexican journalist, Jaime Maussan, released official video recorded by the Mexican Air Force military footage. Around the same time, you have guys like Scott Waring starting their UFO hunting, using readily available cameras, collecting hundreds of clips, especially daytime footage, which is harder to fake.
Easier access to recording, sharing online.
It made the old denial tactics much harder. And importantly, sources point out that the U.S. Air Force Manual for Pilot Reporting Procedures, AFM 1026, was apparently updated as recently as 2004.
Oh wait, 2004, but didn't they officially stop collecting UFO data in 1969 with the end of Blue Book?
That's the official line. But this updated manual strongly suggests they didn't stop collecting data, despite what they told the public, an ongoing active interest hidden behind the scenes.
So the internet really blew the doors open.
It became the main channel for sharing reports, videos, leaked documents. Made the cover-up, if there is one, increasingly difficult. And it led to some countries, like Brazil and Mexico, actually opening some of their official files. A slow, maybe reluctant, but undeniable shift towards more information getting out.
Okay, so we've traced this long history from ancient times right up through the modern era of sightings, whistleblowers, and alleged government responses. But what does it all mean? This is where things get really interesting, because our sources present 2 totally different, competing ideas about the alien agenda.
Dramatically different, yeah.
Let's tackle the first one. The idea that this whole alien narrative is actually a deliberate distraction. The final hoax, as some sources put it.
This perspective is pretty unsettling because it flips the script entirely. It suggests the cosmic mystery is actually a carefully crafted terrestrial manipulation.
And the most chilling prediction comes from Wernher von Braun, the rocket scientist.
Yes, the famous rocket scientist. He allegedly told a colleague, Carol Rosen, that an alien threat would be the last card they'll play. He apparently laid out a sequence. First the Russians, then terrorists, then rogue nations, then asteroids, and finally, a faked alien invasion.
Faked. A lie.
A lie, yes. A final tool, he supposedly said, to unite the world under a military-industrial government by fear, not fact. The core idea here is that the UFO narrative keeps us looking up, distracted, while the real danger, the real power plays are happening right here on the ground. A calculated long-term plan using fear.
So it's a smokescreen.
Exactly. This viewpoint argues it's a diversion from much more immediate, real-world problems. Things like hiding secret weapons testing or manipulating your economy, distracting us from domestic issues, crime, inflation, corporate greed, you name it.
And it asks some uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? Like, if aliens were a real hostile threat, why would governments be funding Netflix specials and billion-dollar documentaries about them instead of, preparing for war?
Right, it seems counterintuitive if the threat is genuine. Which brings us back to Project Bluebeam, Monis's theory from the 90s.
The holographic invasion idea.
Yeah, not just general fear, but a specific staged event, using holograms, maybe other advanced tech, to simulate a religious apparition or an alien attack. The goal, collapse existing religions, maybe establish that new world order. And again, you look at deepfakes. VR, are global holograms really that far-fetched anymore?
It's a scary thought, a global psyop.
And this perspective argues many actual sightings aren't ET at all, but classified military tech. These UFOs are just a smokescreen for testing hypersonic drones, anti-gravity propulsion, surveillance tech. That's decades ahead of what the public knows. Governments hide behind the mystery because, well, mystery keeps us guessing, keeps rivals guessing too.
And there's a follow the money angle here too.
Oh yeah. The sources point out the UFO and alien media industry is worth billions. Think about it. Specials, documentaries, books, even government programs like ATIP get funding. It benefits government contractors, defense budgets, Hollywood. The narrative itself becomes profitable, creating this feedback loop where the mystery pays.
Another point this side makes is the lack of truly undeniable proof.
That's a big one for the skeptics. Despite, over 100 years of supposed encounters, where's the crystal clear, undeniable photo or video? Especially now, with 4K cameras in everyone's pocket, satellites everywhere. Why are we still getting mostly grainy TikToks?
Yeah.
Raises suspicion.
It leads to a really fundamental question this perspective asks. Why do we want aliens to be real so badly? Is it boredom? Or, more cynically, have we given up on holding the real powers accountable here on Earth? It suggests maybe alien belief is filling a void, replacing belief in God or government or even ourselves. It's a safe belief, maybe, because it doesn't demand action against terrestrial actors.
So the takeaway from this first perspective is pretty stark.
It is. It says, the real threat ain't an alien, it's already here, and it's probably wearing some type of badge or flag or billion-dollar smile. It's a call, really, for critical thinking, for focusing on real-world problems and holding powerful people and institutions accountable.
Okay, now let's completely flip that coin. The second perspective argues the exact opposite. That there is overwhelming evidence of an extraterrestrial presence, and that the real story is a decades-long government cover-up, the truth embargo. Right. This view says governments have held on to denial as the only official position for maybe 60 years. But now, humanity is being slowly conditioned to accept that there's life beyond Earth. The idea here is that disclosure, the lifting of this truth embargo, is actually happening now.
Why now?
Because of the sheer weight of evidence, and because the internet makes secrets so much harder to keep. The initial secrecy, this view argues, was maybe understandable national security, preventing panic, stopping enemies getting the tech. But now, the dam is breaking.
And what's the core evidence cited for this reality, this embargo?
One key piece is the phenomenon military radar operators apparently call fast walkers.
Fast walkers.
Yeah, code name for these incredibly fast-moving, unexplained objects they track. We're talking speeds of tens of thousands of miles per hour, and maneuvers that defy physics like 180-degree turns instantly with no deceleration. They're described as electrogravitic or anti-gravity disks, basically craft that manipulate gravity itself.
Which, if true, means our understanding of physics is incomplete, or there's technology out there far beyond ours.
Exactly. And this perspective isn't just based on radar blips. It's heavily backed by witness testimony. Hundreds of top military veterans, intelligence people, generals, pilots, air traffic controllers, even astronauts. People who saw UFOs personally or worked on related secret projects.
Incredible insiders.
People like John Callahan, the FAA guy from the JAL case. Clifford Stone, who claims knowledge of 57 different alien races from his time in the service. John Lear, former CIA pilot who talks about over 60 races. These aren't random folks. They had security clearances. They were in positions to know.
And they point to documents too, right? Not just stories.
Yes, over 183,000 pages of government documents, many obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. Documents proving airspace breaches, detailing those military reporting procedures we mentioned, like AFM 1026 being updated in 2004. Sources even mention CIA intelligence digest specifically about flying saucers from the Korean War era.
So paper trails exist, contradicting the official denial.
That's the argument. And the frustration went right to the top. President Carter's experience wanting disclosure, then being denied access to the files, is often cited as prime evidence of this entrenched secrecy.
A secrecy that even presidents couldn't break.
Apparently. There are even claims that Presidents Ford and Bush Sr. were shown a film, the Holloman Air Force Base landing film, allegedly showing actual alien landings. It suggests a level of classification, a secret structure that operates above the elected government, which is a pretty wild thought.
And the personal encounters described in this narrative, they're not just lights in the sky.
No, they're much more intense. Witnesses describing things like a chrome, hubcap-like object hitting an invisible barrier when jets tried to intercept it, then just shooting straight up silently, leaving weird black rings behind.
Wow.
Another pilot describing an elliptical flying saucer that just shot straight up until it looked like one of the stars. Then you have Scott Waring's videos.
And the really intense stuff, like Travis Walton's abduction story.
Right, being held aboard a craft.
And other detailed abduction accounts. People describing interactions with small gray beings, feeling a weird stickiness on their face as they supposedly pass through a window, even feeling ecstasy in the presence of an ET.
And that specific entity, Cronin?
Yeah, Cronin. Described as 5 feet tall, greenish skin, big teardrop eyes, larger skull. But capable of telepathy, showing emotion, discussing personal things. These detailed, often consistent accounts paint a picture of a reality that is incredibly strange, but persistently reported.
So whether you lean towards the final hoax idea or the truth embargo reality, both sides agree that powerful forces are actively managing this information, shaping what we know or don't know. Let's dig into how this alleged cover-up, this truth embargo, is supposedly maintained. It sounds like a massive operation.
It does. And our sources outline several key mechanisms, systematic ways the secrecy is enforced. First off, legal silencing. That JNF 146E regulation from 1953 we talked about.
The one with the 10 years jail time threat?
Exactly. Huge fines, serious prison time. That was a direct, legal way to shut down military personnel and investigators right from the start. A powerful deterrent.
And if the legal threats weren't enough,
Well, then comes threats and harassment, according to whistleblowers. People describe visits from military intelligence agents, shadowy figures telling them to be quiet. Sometimes the threats weren't just about their careers, but extended to their families.
that's chilling.
It really is. There's even that story about a friend warning President Clinton he might end up by Jack Kennedy if he pushed too hard for UFO disclosure. It suggests the stakes are incredibly high, and the methods used to protect the secret can be extreme.
Beyond direct threats, there's also ridicule, right? Making the whole topic seem silly.
Oh, absolutely. A deliberate curtain of ridicule has been drawn around the subject for decades. It makes serious scientists wary of investigating it for fear of damaging their careers. It discredits witnesses, pilots who reported sightings, often subjected to psychological evaluation and then grounded, basically told they'd fly a desk. So your career is over if you speak up.
Effectively, yes. And the term UFO itself, some sources claim, was deliberately chosen as a disinformation term. Vague, easily ridiculed, designed to mislead.
Turning the language itself into a tool of suppression. Smart, in a devious way. What about the media's role in this alleged cover-up?
The sources point to very tight control over the flow of information, especially in corporate-controlled mass media. The media acts as the gatekeepers, they say. Senior editors might prevent journalists from doing deep dives even if they want to. And a lot of what does get published is dismissed as disinformation designed either to create fear or just make the whole thing look absurd. Maybe 90% of it, one source claims.
Wow, 90%. And then there's just outright denial from official channels?
Stonewalling, basically. Governments stonewall it, deny it, lie about it for 30, 40 years. We saw that with Presidents Carter and Clinton's allegedly being denied access or told the information didn't exist. It suggests a really deep institutional denial that operates almost automatically, regardless of who's officially in charge.
And this isn't just a U.S. thing, there's an international dimension too.
Sources suggest economic pressure plays a role. The U.S., with its huge economic influence, can allegedly pressure other countries. Brazil is mentioned as an example to keep this under wraps. because so many national economies rely on good relations with America. It creates a kind of global web of silence, enforced through economic leverage.
A truly vast network of control. And maintaining all the secrecy, the research, that must cost a fortune.
A staggering amount, potentially. This is where black budgets come in. Sources cite Department of Defense auditing irregularities, specifically between 1998 and 2000, where an average of $1.7 trillion a year was apparently unaccounted for.
Trillion, with a T.
Trillion, yes. The allegation is that vast sums like this are siphoned off into secret black projects to fund the secrecy, the research, maybe the reverse engineering efforts. It indicates a massive hidden infrastructure operating completely off the books. Hashtag motivations for secrecy.
Okay, so if there is this huge, expensive, multi-layered cover-up, why? What are the core reasons, the motivations, for going to such incredible lengths to keep this secret?
The sources point to several major motivations. First and foremost, probably, is national security. The classic reason.
Fear of enemies getting the technology.
Exactly. If you recover alien tech, you don't want your adversaries getting their hands on it. This fear would drive intense secrecy around any reverse engineering programs. It goes back to that alleged 1942 crash recovery, the supposed Eisenhower deals. Protecting a potential technological advantage is seen as absolutely critical.
Makes sense from a military perspective, but there's a huge economic angle too, isn't there?
Oh, massive. This might be the biggest driver for some. Imagine releasing technologies like zero-point energy, limitless clean energy from the vacuum of space, or anti-gravity propulsion, superior medical tech that could cure major diseases.
It would change everything.
It would collapse the world economy overnight. Our entire global system is built on oil, on limited energy sources, on current transportation and communication methods, on the pharmaceutical industry as it is, free energy, anti-gravity. It would completely upend all of that, threaten trillions of dollars tied up in existing industries and the powerful monopolies that control them.
So protecting existing power structures and profits is a huge motivator.
A primary motivator, according to these sources. Then there's societal stability. Governments worry about mass panic if the truth just drops suddenly. They worry about maintaining allegiance. People might start identifying as citizens of Earth rather than citizens of a specific country, undermining nationalism.
Right, a shift in identity.
And, of course, the potential disruption to religious beliefs. The idea that we're not unique, maybe not even created solely by God, as traditionally understood, that could cause a huge philosophical and spiritual crisis for many people.
So control, again, national, economic, ideological. And this points towards elite manipulation.
That's the argument, that a wealthy oligarchy, maybe operating behind the scenes, influences governments and media. They suppress these alternative technologies, suppress the truth simply to maintain their own power and profit. It's described as an economic agenda aimed at creating potentially an Orwellian 1984-style nightmare, keeping the masses dependent and controlled.
Which raises the deeply uncomfortable question, if such an elite exists and is controlling this, are they doing it for humanity's good or just for themselves?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? The implications are just vast.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. If we entertain the perspective that there is an extraterrestrial presence, that the truth embargo is real, then the immediate next question is, who's visiting? Or maybe what is visiting? Our sources suggest it's definitely not just one type of alien.
Far from it. What's really staggering is the sheer diversity described by some of these whistleblowers. Clifford Stone, the Air Force vet, claimed he learned about 57 different species. 57. And John Lear, the former CIA guy, talks about over 60 races. It paints this picture of a cosmos absolutely teeming with intelligent life.
Yeah.
Not just one or two types showing up, but potentially a whole galactic neighborhood interacting with us, or at least observing us.
And it's not just the typical alien look we see in movies.
Not necessarily. Sources suggest maybe a third of the visitors are basically humans like us, just with different morphology. Maybe bigger ears, smaller mouths, less hair, different builds.
Yeah.
But fundamentally human-looking, like the plans mentioned in the Billy Meyer contacts, the supposedly human-like beings trying to help humanity resist manipulation by other groups.
So human-like visitors and then the more exotic types.
Exactly. The exotic, different species, each supposedly from different star systems, maybe different dimensions, with their own unique technologies, their own agendas, their own reasons for being here. It underscores this incredible complexity. Contact isn't simple. It's potentially a multifaceted interaction with a diverse cosmic community. #tag key alien types and their characteristics.
Okay, let's get more specific then.
What are some of the main types described? The tall whites often come up.
Yes, the tall whites. They're described as humanoid, generally 5 to 6 feet tall, maybe taller, very striking paper white skin, large blue eyes apparently turning pinkish in older males, small ears, small noses, and interestingly, ridges instead of teeth, because they're said to be herbivores.
Herbivores. Interesting detail. And long-lived, supposedly.
Very long-lived, yes. The details themselves, herbivorous, specific eye color, changes they add this layer of biological peculiarity that makes the descriptions feel oddly specific, whether you believe them or not.
And then, of course, the ones everyone thinks of, the grays.
The classic grays, almost the archetype, right? Small gray beings with big black eyes and big heads and very skinny, spindly limbs. Physiologically, they're described in some sources as non-placental creatures. No digestive system as we know it, no sex organs. One specific species of gray is often linked to the Zeta Reticuli star system. And they're frequently associated with abduction reports, genetic sampling. They're central to many of the more disturbing encounter narratives.
And then there are the reptilians. They seem to evoke a lot more fear.
They do, often described as an advanced, non-human species. Some theories even suggest they might be indigenous to Earth, having lived here for thousands, maybe millions of years, perhaps underground.
Lived here before us.
That's one idea. And that they might have even played a role in genetically engineering humanity. Their view of us is sometimes described as seeing humanity as a resource. Their main interest, supposedly, is maintaining Earth's biosphere stability, maybe because they needed to, or just see us as caretakers who are failing. A very pragmatic, almost cold motivation.
Okay, tall whites, grays, reptilians, and there was that specific entity mentioned, Cronin.
Right, Cronin. This is from a specific witness account, described as about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, with a greenish tint to the skin. Larger skull, smaller cheeks, those distinctive teardrop-shaped eyes slanting inward, slit nose, slit mouth.
But the description went beyond just physical appearance, didn't it?
Yes, what was compelling was the reported interaction. Capable of showing emotion, communicating telepathically, even discussing quite personal things like the witness's family situation. It really challenges that stereotype of the cold, emotionless alien, offering a glimpse of potentially complex extraterrestrial psychology. #tag genetic manipulation and human origins.
This discussion of different species, especially the grays and reptilians, leads us to maybe the most radical, most paradigm-shifting idea in these sources: genetic manipulation and what it means for human origins.
This is where it gets really profound and potentially deeply uncomfortable for some. The sources put forward this idea that you and I and we, all of us, are genetic hybrids, that we are not the product of evolution alone.
Meaning someone or something interfered.
Yep. Exactly. Intelligent interference in the development of the human genome by advanced extraterrestrial intelligence, making Homo sapiens sapiens, us, a hybrid species. It directly challenges Darwinian evolution by suggesting an external guiding hand in our creation. It forces a complete reevaluation of who we think we are and where we came from.
So we could be like a cosmic project. And there was that idea linked to the grays about a kind of Noah's Ark.
Yes, that's another fascinating and slightly alarming concept. That the Greys were allegedly authorized, maybe by some higher cosmic council or something, to create a full genetic and DNA bank of all flora and fauna on this planet.
Oh, aye.
So as to replant it centuries down the road after the catastrophe. It implies they foresee or perhaps know about some future cataclysm on Earth, and they're acting as cosmic conservationists, creating a backup of Earth's biosphere. A very long-term, almost detached perspective on planetary survival. #tag alien presence and technology exchange.
Moving from origins to interactions. Sources talk about direct engagement, crash retrievals, even technology exchange. What allegedly happens when these crafts crash?
Well, the accounts of crash retrievals, like Roswell, don't just mention recovering wreckage. They often mention recovering bodies. And sometimes, entities still alive.
Living aliens recovered.
That's the claim. And that these beings were housed in special habitat facilities, maybe at places like Los Alamos or Area 51. They apparently required specific environments, even special food from their products continually, things brought from their home worlds. It highlights the biological differences and the immense logistical challenge of keeping such beings alive and secret.
But even with recovered craft, maybe living aliens, maybe even formal agreements like the supposed Eisenhower ones, reverse engineering their tech seems to be a huge hurdle.
This is a really crucial point in some narratives.
Yeah.
Despite alleged agreements for tech exchange, anti-gravity, new energy sources, element 115 for propulsion, Human engineers have reportedly never been able to convert that technology to ours. They can't make it work reliably. The reason supposedly given by the aliens themselves is that their equipment requires mental input to operate. Consciousness interacts directly with the technology. And that's a capability humans apparently haven't mastered yet. It suggests a fundamental difference not just in material science, but in the very interface between mind and machine.
Wow. So they're here interacting, maybe sharing tech we can't use. But why are they here? What's the overall motivation? Are they actively intervening?
Sources suggest many ET civilizations are actually horrified by humanity's behavior, especially our hostility and our development of nuclear weapons. Remember, sightings reportedly spiked right after WWII around 4647, the dawn of the nuclear age.
So they're worried about us blowing ourselves up.
Possibly. But there seems to be a rule, maybe a prime directive of sorts, that prohibits them from directly intervening in our development. So instead, they use indirect means, things like crop circles, maybe animal mutilations, though that's highly controversial, abductions and sightings themselves, all possibly designed to condition human evolution, nudge us gently towards a different path without overtly interfering, like cosmic gardeners trying to guide our growth.
Indirect influence. That's a subtle concept. And to explain how they do some of these things moving so fast, maybe passing through walls, the science is starting to look beyond just nuts and bolts.
Exactly. The idea of extra-dimensional beings is gaining traction in some circles to explain these phenomena. Beings that exist or can access more dimensions than our familiar three of space and one of time.
So they're not just traveling through space, but maybe around it, through other dimensions.
That's the thinking. It could explain the impossible speeds, the sudden appearances and disappearances. What looks like magic to us can really be explained through extra dimensionality. It suggests our current scientific models might be fundamentally incomplete to grasp the reality of these visitors.
Okay, this has been a deep dive already. We've covered the history, the conflicting narratives, the alleged alien types, the potential tech. Now, let's get to the heart of it. The stakes. What would full disclosure actually mean for us, for humanity, if the truth, whatever it is, finally came out?
The potential consequences are just monumental, both negative and positive. Our sources paint a picture where disclosure could either shatter our civilization or elevate it to an entirely new level. Hashtag potential negative consequences.
Let's brace ourselves and start with the potential downsides. If this truth just dropped tomorrow, without any preparation, what are the big fears?
Mass panic is usually top of the list. Without careful handling, sources warn church attendance would go up, mental hospital admissions would go up, stock market would go down. You could see mass panic and food shortages and probably martial law as existing systems just break down under the shock. It would challenge everything people thought they knew, and panic is a very real possibility.
And the economic fallout, we touched on that.
Yeah, it could be catastrophic for the current system. Releasing zero-point energy or anti-gravity tech, it would collapse the world economy as we know it. The entire energy sector, transportation, pharmaceuticals, huge parts of the global economy are based on technologies that could become obsolete overnight. Trillions of dollars, powerful corporations, massive disruption. That's a huge reason for secrecy from that perspective.
And beyond panic and economics, there's the impact on belief systems.
A major religious and philosophical crisis, potentially. For fundamentalist beliefs centered on human uniqueness or specific creation stories, the confirmation of advanced alien life could be devastating. It forces a profound reevaluation of our place in the universe, our purpose, our relationship with the divine, however you conceive it.
Governments themselves might feel threatened too.
Definitely. The worry is a challenge to national sovereignty. If people realize we're part of a larger cosmic community, would they still feel primary allegiance to their nation-state? Or would allegiance shift to the planet, to humanity as a whole? Governments might fear losing that nationalistic control.
And flipping the final hoax idea around, disclosure itself could be dangerous if manipulated.
That's the really dark twist, isn't it? The possibility that a fabricated alien threat could be revealed or staged as part of a disclosure scenario. Used to unite the world, yes, but under a military-industrial government by fear, not fact.
Yeah.
Disclosure itself weaponized to achieve global control. A truly chilling prospect.
And finally, the ethical nightmare of past actions coming to light.
Right. If it turns out governments did make secret agreements with alien races, maybe trading resources or allowing abductions in exchange for tech, revealing data could expose officials, past and present. Accusations that they were representing the interests of a particular extraterrestrial race over humanity's interests. The breakdown of trust would be immense globally. #tag potential positive consequences.
Okay, that's a lot of potential negativity.
Yeah.
But the sources also paint a picture of incredible positive potential, right? Let's shift to that. What's the upside of disclosure?
The upside is potentially everything changing for the better, starting with technology.
Free energy, flying cars.
Essentially, yes. It could end the dependence on oil overnight, provide unlimited energy for fueling their houses, their industries, bring superior medical technologies that could eradicate diseases, extend lifespans dramatically. New propulsion systems could solve climate change, pollution. It could genuinely lead to a whole new civilization, solving so many of our biggest problems.
That's almost utopian. What about the impact on us psychologically, socially?
Huge potential there, too. Understanding we're not alone, seeing Earth from a cosmic perspective. It could lead to an unprecedented expansion of human consciousness. Maybe it would finally bring us together as a species and as a race, forcing us to look past our petty conflicts and realize our shared destiny, an awakening, as some sources put it, to a much higher level of awareness.
And maybe even joining the Galactic Club.
That's the grand vision for some researchers. That disclosure could allow humanity to become a part of that community, maybe even achieve Federation membership in some kind of intergalactic federation.
Like Star Trek.
A bit like that, yeah. The belief is this would end all war, starvation, and dependency upon fossil fuel-based energy systems for our entire planet. It's this idea of transforming our permanent warfare industry into a cooperative, peaceful space-age society, a truly optimistic, transformative potential future.
And it would answer that fundamental question about our origins.
Exactly. Disclosure could finally reveal the truth, whatever it is. Maybe we are a genetic hybrid. Understanding that would fundamentally alter our self-perception, our history, our place in the cosmos. A completely new story of humanity. #tag profound questions about our reality.
So as we absorb all this, these competing narratives, the potential consequences, what are the really deep, fundamental questions this whole subject forces us, you, the listener, to grapple with? About ourselves, about the universe.
They're truly profound questions about humanity's nature, first off. That skeptical perspective asking, why do we want aliens to be real so badly anyway? Is it escapism? Is it replacing other forms of belief? And the other side asking, how do we even process the idea that we might be genetic hybrids, not purely products of evolution? Are we, as some sources suggest, ETs view us, the lowest in the evolutionary scale because of our warlike ways? It forces some serious self-reflection.
Definitely challenges our self-image. And what about the universe itself?
Well, the sheer possibility that the universe is teeming with intelligent life just fundamentally shifts our perspective. We're not the center of everything. And the idea of extra-dimensional beings, that reality might have more dimensions than we perceive, it suggests our scientific understanding might be radically incomplete. What looks like magic could just be physics we don't understand yet.
So it redefines not just us, but the stage we're on, our cosmic context.
Precisely. It makes you question everything.
Yeah.
Are the nature of the moon and Mars being deliberately obscured to make you think that you're completely alone? Is colonization being hidden? And then the biggest picture. Could there really be an intergalactic federation out there? Could humanity eventually achieve Federation membership? It opens up possibilities for our future that are just mind-boggling. #outtrack outro.
Wow. Okay. What a journey through these sources. We've explored two incredibly different ways to understand what might be happening in our skies and why it's possibly been kept secret. On one hand, is it all a brilliant, terrifying global deception, a final hoax to keep us looking up while terrestrial powers consolidate control?
Or on the other hand, is it the suppression of a reality almost too profound to grasp? A decades-long truth embargo, hiding an undeniable extraterrestrial presence, one with the power to rewrite everything we know about science, society, maybe even ourselves.
This deep dive has laid out a really complex mosaic for you. Ancient whispers, official denials that seem flimsy, compelling whistleblower testimonies, incredible personal accounts. It's a field where you find both powerful arguments for skepticism and deeply intriguing evidence that's hard to dismiss. What really stands out to you after hearing all this isn't just sci-fi fodder. It touches on history, power, technology, belief, human potential. The real truth, whatever it turns out to be, demands that we keep our minds open, but also keep our critical thinking switched on. We have to keep asking the tough questions.
And, regardless of whether you land on the side of grand illusion or hidden cosmic reality, one thing seems undeniable. This conversation about aerial phenomena, about UFOs, UAP, keeps pushing us. It challenges not just what we see or think we see in the sky, but fundamentally what we believe about ourselves and our place in this vast universe.
So maybe the final provocative thought is this. What if the biggest secret isn't just what is out there hovering above us or interacting with us, but who we as humans could become if we truly faced it? M5D UFO Files, real-life mysteries discussed by those who dare to question. The truth is out there, and we seek it.
M5D UFO Files. Unraveling the UFO Files. Revelations that change everything.